Welcome to the HFY Galaxy Tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from HFY Galaxy Tales, where humanity always finds a way. An alien girl crashed into his farm now, she's calling him mate the crash in the cornfield. It was past midnight on Jack's quiet farm. The only sound was the wind moving gently through the tall corn. The animals were asleep. The sky was full of stars. Everything was peaceful. Until the sky screamed, boom. A loud explosion shook the ground. Jack woke up, jumped out of bed, and grabbed his old shotgun. His dog, Rusty, barked wildly. Outside, the sky was glowing. A line of fire flew across it, heading straight toward the cornfield. Another boom. Jack didn't wait. He ran out the door in his boots and flannel shirt. He didn't even put on a coat. The night was cold, but something strange was happening. He followed the smoke and the bright orange light toward the field. When he reached the corn, he stopped. A deep path had been burned into the ground. Corn stalks were flattened and blackened. In the middle of it, something was glowing and hissing. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a meteor. It was a small ship, round silver, cracked open like an egg. Sparks jumped from broken wires. Then something moved. Jack raised his shotgun. His heart pounded. A figure crawled out of the wreck, thin, pale, with silver blue skin that shimmered in the firelight. Not human. She fell to her knees and looked up at him. Her eyes were big and bright blue, glowing softly in the dark. She had white hair, tangled and dirty. Blood dark and shiny ran down her arm. Jack couldn't speak. The alien girl opened her mouth. Her voice was weak. "Mate," she whispered, and then collapsed. Jack blinked. Did she just call him mate? He slowly lowered his shotgun and walked closer. She wasn't moving. Her breathing was shallow. He didn't know what she was or where she came from, but she was dying. He had two choices: run or help. Jack sighed. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. He put the shotgun on his back and carefully picked her up. She was warm. Too warm. Her body was hot, like she had a fever. Her skin felt soft, almost like silk. She groaned in his arms but didn't wake up. Jack carried her across the field, back to his barn. It was safer than the house for now. Inside the barn, he laid her on a pile of hay and covered her with a wool blanket. Rusty stood nearby, growling low, but didn't get too close. Jack looked at her glowing skin. Strange symbols moved slowly along her collarbone, like writing made of light. It was beautiful and terrifying. "Okay," Jack muttered. "Don't die on me now, space girl." He ran back to the crash. He couldn't leave that thing burning in his field. It might explode. He took a shovel and threw dirt over the sparks. He broke off pieces of metal and covered them with corn leaves. It wasn't perfect, but it would hide the wreck until morning. As he worked, he felt like someone or something was watching him. The hairs on his neck stood up. He looked at the sky, nothing, still. He hurried back to the barn. Inside, the girl was awake barely. She sat up, holding the blanket around herself. Her eyes were wide and frightened. Jack stopped at the door. "Hey," he said softly, raising his hands. "It's okay. You crashed here. You're safe." She blinked, trying to understand. Then she pointed at him and said the same word again. "Mate." Jack frowned. "What does that mean? Why do you keep saying that?" She reached toward him, touched his chest, then passed out again. Jack caught her before she fell and lowered her gently back onto the hay. He sat beside her, unsure of what to do. Her skin glowed softly in the dim light, and her chest rose and fell slowly. "Rusty wind." Jack rubbed his head. "Yeah, I know. This ain't normal." Outside, the wind picked up far above, in the sky. A faint blue light flickered. Something else was out there. Something looking for her. The mark of bonding. Jack didn't sleep that night. He sat on a wooden stool beside the alien girl, watching her breathe. The soft light coming from her skin made the barn glow. Rusty lay by the door, growling now and then, as if he felt danger in the wind, just before sunrise. Jack stood up to stretch. That's when he felt it. A burning itch on his chest. He pulled up his shirt. Hand froze. A strange symbol was glowing on his skin. It looked like the same kind of writing that moved across the girl's body, but this one was red, not blue. It pulsed gently, as if alive. "What the hell?" Jack muttered. The girl opened her eyes. She stared at the mark on his chest and gasped. Then she smiled weakly. "You bonded," she said. Her voice was soft but clearer now. She looked at him like she knew him. Jack shook his head. "What does that mean?" What did you do to me? She sat up slowly. To live, I had to connect. My body. Broken. Energy. Low. You helped. Now we are. Joined, like linked. She nodded. Bonded. Jack stepped back. No. I didn't agree to that. The girl lowered her eyes. Without bond, I die. Jack stared at her. He didn't know what to say. Later that morning, Jack made a fire in the barn stove and gave her food, just some warm milk and old bread. She didn't eat much, but she drank the milk quickly, like she hadn't tasted anything for days. What's your name? He asked. She touched her chest. Lyri, Jack repeated. All right, I'm Jack. That's Rusty. Rusty, growled Lyri, looked at the dog and gave a small smile. Sharp teeth. Jack chuckled. Yeah, he's not friendly with strangers, but he didn't bite you, so I guess that's something. As the sun rose, Jack helped Lyri sit up. Her strength was returning, but she still moved like she was hurt. Her skin had stopped glowing so brightly, but the red mark on Jack's chest still pulsed under his shirt. She looked around the barn. They will come. Jack frowned. Who? The hunters. They want me. They destroy. Jack felt cold. Inside. You mean, more aliens? Lyri nodded. Yes, I escaped. They chase. I crash. You find. Jack looked at the barn doors. His farm was wide open. No fences, no cameras. Nothing to stop someone or something from walking right in. I need to hide you better, he said. No use, Lyri whispered. They smell bond. They will find. Jack touched the mark on his chest. So this thing? It's like a beacon. Yes, she said, but it also protects you. If I die, you die. Jack's eyes widened. Are you serious? Lyri nodded. Serious. Jack ran his hand through his hair. Well, I guess I better make sure you live then. Later that afternoon, Jack went back to the crash site. He brought a wheelbarrow and tried to collect anything that looked useful, or dangerous. Most of it was broken, but he found a glowing silver orb, the size of a baseball. When he picked it up, it floated just above his palm. He showed it to Lyri. She gasped. Scanner, dangerous. It calls them. Jack's heart sank. Then we have to destroy it. He placed it on a tree stump behind the barn and shot it with his rifle. It exploded in a burst of blue light. Lyri stood up, watching with wide eyes. They will hurry now. As night fell, the wind changed again. Jack stood outside, looking at the stars. One of them moved fast, then another, then a third. They weren't stars, they were ships. He ran back inside. They're coming. Lyri stood, holding onto the wall for balance. Then we fight, she said quietly. Jack gave a bitter laugh. I'm a farmer, not a soldier. Lyri looked into his eyes. But, you are, my mate. Jack stared at her. She was serious, and somehow, deep inside, he didn't want her to leave. Stand at dawn. The sun had not yet risen, but the sky was no longer dark. 3 strange lights hovered above Jack's farm, silent and still. Lyri stood by the barn doors, breathing slowly, her skin glowing faint blue again. The red mark on Jack's chest had started to burn. It meant the hunters were close. They are here, she whispered. Jack loaded shells into his old shotgun and checked his tools. They don't look friendly. They won't talk, Lyri said. They kill. Jack glanced at her. Well, they'll have to try. Suddenly, a shadow moved over the barn. A ship landed in the cornfield, crushing the stalks. It was smooth, black, and had no windows. A ramp slid open and 3 tall creatures stepped out. They were nothing like Lyri. They had metal armor, glowing, red eyes, and long arms with sharp fingers. One of them sniffed the air and pointed toward the barn. They smelled the bond, Lyri said. Jack stood in front of her. You stay behind me. Lyri touched his shoulder. No, we fight together. The barn doors burst open with a loud crash. The hunters entered. One of them growled in a language Jack didn't understand, but the message was clear. They had come for Lyri. Jack fired his shotgun. Boom. One hunter was knocked back, but not dead. The armor had taken most of the hit. The second hunter raised a weapon. Lyri lifted her hand and a pulse of energy shot from her palm. The weapon exploded in his hand. He screamed. Jack swung a shovel into the third one's head. This is my farm, he shouted. They fought hard. Lyri used her light to blast and blind. Jack used tools, fists, and rage. Rusty even jumped in, biting one of the hunter's legs. But they were still outnumbered and running out of strength. One hunter tackled Jack and slammed him into the wall. Jack cried out. The wind knocked from his chest. The mark on his skin flared red. No, Lyri screamed. She grabbed the hunter and sent a glowing surge of energy into him. He flew across the barn and didn't get up. Jack coughed. You did that. We are bonded, she said. When you are hurt, I feel it. They stood side by side. The last hunter stood across from them. His armor cracked. His eyes burned brighter. He raised a long blade and walked forward. Jack was out of shells. Lyri was shaking. The hunter stepped closer. Then Jack had an idea. The silver orb they found the scanner I had left a power cell. Jack had hidden it under the barn floor. Buy me 10 seconds, he whispered to Lyri. She nodded. Jack dove under the floorboards, grabbed the glowing cell, and threw it toward the hunter. As it flew, Lyri hit it with one last pulse of energy. The power cell exploded like lightning. Boom, everything went white. When the smoke cleared, the hunter was gone. So was part of the barn wall? Jack lay on the ground, ears ringing. Lyri crawled to him, checking his chest. The red mark faded. You live, she said, smiling through tears. Barely, Jack groaned. We did it. Yes, she said. We are safe now? The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the broken barn. The bodies of the hunters had vanished, taken by their ship, which had flown away during the night. Jack and Lyri sat on the porch of the farmhouse, drinking tea. She wore one of his flannel shirts now, tied with a rope at the waist. Her white hair was cleaner. Her eyes still glowed a little. So, Jack said, what happens now? Lyri looked at the sky. I can stay, or go. Jack looked at her, then at the quiet land around them. You said I'm your mate. I did, she said, watching him carefully. Jack smiled. Then maybe. You should stay. She tilted her head. Even if I plant corn badly. Jack laughed. We'll work on that. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Okay, mate.